friends, it's Hannah, and I'm so glad you're here. Today we're going to be making 2 wreaths and a tree using all dried citrus. It's so easy to dry the fruit. There's oodles of recipes online, but if you don't want to make them, you can always buy them from Etsy or Amazon or Walmart. These wreaths sell for hundreds of dollars online, but we're going to make them on a budget. I purchased the grapevine wreath for $3.49 at the thrift store, and the mini pomegranates I got at the Dollar Tree. I bought the greenery at Michael's. They were $3 each and half off, so they were $1.50 each. And I had pine cones that were painted white. I dried the citrus myself, but you can always buy it online if you don't want to do it. These plain oranges came from a neighbor's tree that died. I picked the oranges off after they were already dry. These I just sliced and dried in the oven. And I also made these in the oven. I just cut through them and put them in the oven, and they are absolutely beautiful and so easy to make. But as I said, you can always buy them online if you're not inclined to make them. You also need a glue gun, and I did use Gorilla Glue. I used the grapevine wreath to hold all of my greenery. I did not hot glue any of my greenery onto the wreath. I just used the bands along the grapevine wreath, and I pulled my greenery through the bands, and then I opened it up and worked with it a little bit so that it really looked good, and then I just put it through the next band. These were very long picks, so they worked very, very well this way, and they stayed on the grapevine wreath just beautifully. And I'm going to speed this up just a little bit so that you can see how I finished adding all of the greens on the wreath, and it worked out better than I could have expected, and it was so easy to do. It did not take me long at all to make this wreath. And as you can see, I'm just working with my greenery, and I'm bending it and making sure that it's even all the way around. And the next thing that I do is I add the picks of the mini pomegranates from the Dollar Tree in the same way. I just stick them into the grapevine wreath, and they hold themselves. I'm sorry I'm a little bit out of frame and you can't exactly see what I'm doing, but I'm doing these the same way that I did the greenery, and I'm placing the mini pomegranates equidistant from each other so that they're the same distance from each other all the way around the wreath. And they really look nice. I love the way that they turned out. And then the next thing I do is start adding the fruit. I only had 3 pomegranates, so I placed the pomegranates. I placed one at 12 o'clock, one at 3 o'clock, and I placed the last one at 9 o'clock. And these pomegranates are gorgeous. I wish I had made more. Then I took slices of, I think these are slices of grapefruit because I dried grapefruit too, but I took, or big oranges, but I took slices from the oranges and I placed them all around the wreath, and they look so delicate and so beautiful and so colorful. And then the next thing I did is I added the oranges that we had sliced and kept whole on the inside of the wreath so that we would have good fillers, beautiful fillers on the inside of the wreath that are very, very visible. And I placed these the same as I did the pomegranate mini pomegranates. I made them equidistant, as you can see, all along the inside of the wreath. The next thing that I did is I added the pine cones to the wreath, and I absolutely love the way they look. They look beautiful in the autumn. They look festive for Christmas. They look perfect for all winter long. They were just exactly what this wreath needed, and the white also gave it more color, and the pine cones gave it more texture. And these looked absolutely beautiful all around the top of the wreath. And once I was finished adding the pine cones, I took the oranges that were completely dry, that I took off the tree that had died, and I used these for fillers where they wouldn't show too much, but where they still look absolutely beautiful along the outside of the wreath. So I added the whole oranges and a few pine cones and put those around the wreath, and then I just went around the wreath and checked it and added whatever I felt it needed here and there to make the wreath complete all the way around, looking beautiful on the top and on the outside of the wreath and on the inside of the wreath. And this camera does not do the wreath justice. It is so beautiful and colorful, and it just has that beautiful natural look, and I can't tell you how absolutely gorgeous this wreath is. I really love the way that this wreath turned out. I'm so happy with it. For our next project, we're going to make a dried citrus tree. And I used a foam cone from the Dollar Tree. I used my bowl of dried citrus. I used cinnamon sticks, peanuts. I used pecans that I picked from a pecan tree, dried pistachio shells, Gorilla Glue, and now I'm gluing everything onto the tree. I really don't have a pattern of how I'm adding things to the tree. I just look at everything, and if I like the way that it looks, I put it on the tree. And I'm also not worried about leaving white spaces in the tree because those are going to get filled in. I also used dried white pearl onions, and I just left those out on the counter to dry for a few weeks. And I'm adding everything kind of randomly as I go around the tree, and I just keep adding things as I like the way that it looks. And I am absolutely loving the way that this tree is coming together. And I'm just going to continue to add all the fruit and all the nuts and the peanuts. And I love that I have the pecans from a real pecan tree because they have some of the shells on the outside and they look great. And even the pistachio shells from empty pistachios look good. They're a great filler. The peanuts are a great filler. They're both very inexpensive fillers, and all the dried fruit is very inexpensive. And I just continue to place things around the tree and until I am really happy with the way that the entire tree looks. It doesn't take me long to make the tree. And this is a really fun project to do. This is something that your kids could do. If you could put the glue gun, if you have a glue gun that you can put on a cool setting, this would be a great project for kids. You can also add dried cranberries, whole walnuts, absolutely anything that looks natural that you think would look beautiful on the tree. It all looks good. Oh my gosh, this tree is coming out so beautiful. And I did put an onion at the very top of the tree. And I love the way that this tree turned out. And next, we're going to add greenery to it. So I took some boxwood and I clipped off the tiny little leaves off of several pieces of the bunches of boxwood because I want this to be an autumn tree, a Christmas tree, and a winter tree. I want you to be able to put it up in your house now and leave it up until you're ready to decorate for summer. And I used the boxwood to add more color to the tree and also to hide any of the spaces that were still white that I had not covered with something else. So this made the perfect ending finish for the tree. And I also made sure to add the greenery all around the bottom of the tree to make it look more realistic. And I loved this particular boxwood. I can't remember where I bought it, but it's not bright green. It's like a muted, subtle green, and it looks absolutely beautiful on the tree. So I just continue to add the boxwood to the tree until it is completely full. And at the top, I'm covering my onion with 4 pieces of boxwood. And with that, this tree is complete. And I just love the way that it turned out. It's absolutely gorgeous. It kind of gives you a better view of how the wreath looks, but the wreath is so much bigger than this. I just could not get pictures of the wreath that were that great, but this tree is absolutely beautiful. And the next project is a super easy project. I bought this wreath at the thrift store for $2.49. And then I purchased apple picks from the Dollar Tree, and these come with the leaves, the apples, the foliage, everything that you need. And I did the same thing with these as I did with the greenery on the other grapevine wreath. I just placed all the apples in and I tucked them tightly into the wreath all the way around the wreath until I was completely satisfied with the way that all the apples looked on the wreath. And I couldn't believe it. I was so happy I didn't have to add anything else. No leaves, no foliage. I couldn't believe I got these from the Dollar Tree. They are so high-end looking. I love them, but I couldn't find them in the store, and I did have to buy them online, but they were so worth it. They just look terrific. And I love the way this wreath is turning out. And then I'm just going around the wreath, and if I feel like any spaces need more apples or foliage, I just add it in until I'm happy with the way that the wreath looks. And then I use floral wire, and I just pull on all of the apples around the wreath, and any of the apples that are loose, and there were a few of them, I just used the floral wire to go behind the wreath and go in through a piece of the grapevine and pull it up through on top of the apple and secure it with the floral wire. That way I'm sure that everything is going to stay on this wreath until I'm ready to take it off. But I didn't need any hot glue. I just used the floral wire, and again I just went underneath the wreath and pulled it through a piece of the grapevine and pulled it up and secured the apple picks onto the wreath. And I only needed to do this for 3 or 4 of them. And here I think you can see it better as I come from the bottom and I pull the floral wire up and I twist it and twist it until it is nice and tightly secured on the wreath. And I absolutely love the way this wreath looks. You can leave it exactly as it is, but I had some of these beautiful whole oranges left over, and I decided to add them to my apple wreath. So I took the oranges and I added hot glue to them. Again, it's Gorilla Glue, and I went all around the wreath, on the inside of the wreath, and I added these oranges, and it's amazing that it added so much to this wreath, and it looks absolutely beautiful. And this wreath took me about 10 minutes to make. And I also love the way that this wreath turned out. I so loved making all of these projects for you, and I hope that it inspires you to make something beautiful. And I really hope that you try dehydrating your own citrus. It is so worth it. If you enjoyed this video, please share it with your friends, like, subscribe, and hit the notification button. Again, thank you so much for watching, and I will see you next time.